It's taken 4 years, but a picture is now beginning to emerge about the investigation into credit card use in the Health Services Union. The reputation of Labor MP Craig Thomson rests on the inquiry by Fair Work Australia, and officials from the industrial watchdog have been giving evidence on it to a Senate estimates hearing in Canberra. George Roberts has more from Parliament House. So, George, what do we know about what Fair Work Australia has found?
Well, Ros, as you mentioned, this inquiry by Fair Work Australia was prompted by the allegations that Craig Thomson, when he was the head of the union, misused union funds, and those allegations also include the allegation that his union credit card was used to pay for prostitutes. Now, he's always denied this, but there have been 3 investigations into it. There are 2 ongoing: a police inquiry in New South Wales into the union, a police investigation in Melbourne, in Victoria, and also this Fair Work inquiry. What we've found out today in Senate estimates is that this inquiry, after 3 years, has come back with a number of findings that some rules were broken by the union, and Fair Work Australia has conceded that this inquiry has been less than efficient.
The inquiries and subsequent investigations have taken an unreasonably long time, raising legitimate questions. The report made findings of 25 contraventions of the registration and accountability of organisation schedule and or the rules of the Health Services Union. In broad terms, the findings relate to the...
Now, those findings have not indicated any wrongdoing so far on the part of Craig Thomson. The head of Fair Work Australia is yet to decide whether any further action needs to be taken. And Fair Work Australia has also appointed the auditor KPMG to actually review the operations of Fair Work Australia itself after that admission there that the inquiry has taken too long.
And George, why is the opposition so interested in the results of this inquiry?
Well, first and foremost, it's interested in trying to unseat Craig Thomson. The government has a 1-seat buffer on the floor of Parliament at the moment, and so they see Craig Thomson as the chink in the armour, if you like. That's why they're so keen to attack his credibility, and why they would be so keen to see findings against him come out of this inquiry. But as I mentioned earlier, so far no findings against him have been revealed. But on another front, the opposition has been pursuing a line of inquiry in the Senate estimates hearing with Fair Work Australia that's largely focused on whether the federal government has had any undue interference or influence on Fair Work Australia in this investigation and in its inquiries into both the Health Services Union and Craig Thomson. And that's the other reason why the opposition is focusing on this, to also cast doubt over the federal government. But as I said, on both of those issues, there have been no suggestions by Fair Work Australia at this point that either the government or Craig Thomson have been involved in anything wrong at this stage.
And on another matter, George, has the government responded to reports the Prime Minister distributed polling in the lead up to the overthrow of Kevin Rudd?
Well, Ros, this all comes from Monday night's Four Corners report, where the Prime Minister was unable to recall when she saw polling, and if that polling did include shoring her up as a Prime Ministerial hopeful or better chance than Kevin Rudd in the days and weeks before the spill. So there have been reports that not only did she see that polling, but she also distributed it. Well, senior members of the executive have admitted to seeing polling in the time leading up to that day, but some of the ministers who support the Prime Minister, Julia Gillard, have been brickwalling today around any suggestion that it was indeed the Prime Minister herself that was distributing the polling. And indeed, they've said that caucus, the vast majority of caucus, didn't know about it until the day of the spill.
That's when we knew, so it doesn't seem to be compatible with suggestions that there was information swirling around in the days and weeks beforehand.
I'm really not going to get into speculation and commentary on commentary, Matt and Dave, but what I will say to you is that those events are firmly in the past.
Finance Minister Penny Wong, and before that, political reporter George Roberts.